Hello, Anytime here. Today, I will show you the recap of a romantic anime titled 5 centimeters per second. Spoiler alert, watch out and take care. Two best friends, Akari and Takaki, are friends from elementary school. One day, they both watch the cherry blossom fly, and Akari tells Takaki that the blossom falls at 5 centimeters in seconds. She wishes they would both watch the blossoms fall together again. Unfortunately, as they enter middle school, Akari relocates. Half a year after her relocation, she sends a letter to Takaki telling him about her new environment. Tochigi is much different from Tokyo and how much she misses him in Tokyo. She explains all the new things she has experienced, and she ends the letter with a phrase to ask him if he still remembers her. You can imagine how excited Takaki is. He reads the letter happily, and for days, they both exchange letters to each other to tell each other what they are going through. Takaki sends a letter to Akari where he tells her his parents are relocating to Kogoshima, which is a longer destination from Tochigi. In Akari's reply, she tells him that his new location is too far and it's not somewhere they could both jump the train to visit each other again. On the other hand, Takaki feels the same way. He asks his friends at middle school about the location of Tochigi and how he will travel there, as he wants to see his dear friend, Akari, before he leaves for a farther destination. On March 4, these two friends plan to meet again. They're both excited and happy. Akari tells Takaki she will wait for him at the train station by 7 p.m. That journey is the first for Takaki, the first time he will pass through those roads. But for his friends, it's worth the stress. However, on the planned day, the weather changed to severe snow. While on his first train, he remembers how and when he met Akari. When they were in elementary school, the teacher introduced them to the class as new students. They both had fragile bodies, so they spent their breaks in the library and not in the field. So they became friends fast, and they started doing everything together. They were unlike their classmates, so their classmates not to let go of any opportunity to tease them. However, when they were together, they found it easy to get over the teasing. They continued as friends and picked their middle school choice until one day, Akari called Takaki in tears to inform him of her family's relocation. According to Takaki, he knew the relocation posed more pain to his dear friend, but he couldn't say anything to console her. Rather, he told her it was fine and she should go. On the train, there are several delays at every train station. This is due to the snow. 2 days before his journey, he spent his time writing a letter to give Akari. The letter contains all he wants to tell her and everything he wants to know. However, for every train Takaki enters, there will be about 10 minutes delay. While at the train station, waiting for the next train, he puts his hand into his pocket and the letter falls. The snow carries the letter away, so he can't pick it up. He enters the next train, where he realizes he has been delayed for over 2 hours, as he tells Akari to wait for him around 7 p.m. and it's about 9 p.m. already. He hopes that Akari is no longer waiting in the cold snow. He eventually arrives at Tochigi train station. He finds Akari sitting on the chair. She's cold and shaking. They meet each other, and she offers him a hot roasted tea, after which she gives him a rice cake she prepared herself. He eats it and comments it's the best he has ever eaten. The train staff tells them they're closed for the night and that the kids should be careful on their way home. They leave the train station and walk towards a cherry tree Akari has always told Takaki about. While they watch the tree, they lean towards each other and share a passionate kiss. As they kiss, Takaki immerses himself in the bleak future ahead of them, since he knows they will likely not meet each other again. However, he takes all these thoughts away and enjoys the prettiness of her lips. As they break the kiss, they hug and spend the night at the shed around them. The next morning, Akari bids Takaki goodbye. She tells him she knows he will be okay. As the train leaves, Takaki says to himself that after the kiss, the letter he wrote no longer matters. And he didn't even tell her about the letter. Several years later, Takaki is in his 3rd year at high school. He resumes school early to practice his arrow game, while his colleague, Kanae, resumes early too. Before Kanae walks towards him, she stares at him from afar. At school, their teacher gives them a document to fill in their college choices. While everyone fills in theirs, Kanae doesn't because she has a crush on Takaki and wants to attend the same university as him. That evening, she thinks about her crush and the decision she needs to make. Her sister drives her towards the school, where she waits at the same place Takaki parks his bike. As he sees her, he tells her they can ride together. Kanae says if she were a dog, she would be wagging her tail at that moment because it's an emotional time for her. She remembers the first time Takaki was introduced to their middle school. It was love at first sight for her. So when they finished middle school, she picked the same high school choice as Takaki, as she always wanted to be close to him. They stop by a supermarket, and as Takaki buys his drink, he waits for Kanae outside. When she walks out, she sees Takaki writing a text message. She has been seeing him write for such a long time, and she has always wished the messages were for her. They ride home, and on their way, they see a launch train. Kanae tells Takaki the train moves at 5 kilometers per hour. They depart at Kanae's house. The next day at school, the teacher asks Kanae for her university choice, but she has no answer. So, after school, she asks Takaki for his choice. He says he would like to pick any university in Tokyo, but when he asks her choice, she tells him she wants to survive the next morning. As she leaves, Takaki continues his email writing, but he says he doesn't send the emails to anyone. In the long run, Kanae even succeeds in surfing. She goes to school happily, and her friend wonders if she has finally been able to confess her feelings to Takaki. She's determined to confess her feelings that day, so that evening after school, she waits for Takaki by the bike park and he asks them to ride home together. As usual, they stop at the supermarket. As they leave, she drags his cloth to confess her feelings, but she can't tell him. She apologizes, and as they get to their bikes, they realize the plug in Kanae's bike is spoiled, so Takaki suggests they walk home. As they walk, Takaki notices Kanae is crying. He walks back to her and tries to console her. As they wait, they see a rocket passes with waves through the sky. That night, Kanae realizes that she can never get Takaki, as Takaki only sees her as a friend. She says Takaki sees far beyond her, but she knows she can never forget him, and she will always be in love with him. Coming into this realization, she cries herself to bed. Years pass and a void remains in Takaki's life. He's now a programmer, and while he works at home, some cherry blossoms fly towards his room. He leaves home and walks towards the railway. He passes beside a lady, and they walk beside each other. He presumes that if he turns, she will turn. He turns, and she coincidentally turns too, but a train passes between them. While there, he thinks about his life again, how he ignores his new girlfriend of 3 years, Mizuno. He ignores Mizuno's calls and messages, and says that despite their years of dating, he has never felt their heart being a centimeter closer. The void in his heart remains long. On the other hand, Akari is engaged and prepares to wed. She returns to Tokyo on the train. She talks about how she dreamt an old dream about the person she promised to watch the blossom tree with, and says the dream may be a result of the old letter she saw in her loads the day before. To fill in the void in Takaki's heart, he immerses himself in work, but when he realizes that's not the solution, he quits and enters the supermarket where he sees a magazine. He opens it and reads about the decade-long journey on the rocket launched. He also talks about his dream about Akari, while she shares the same dream. At the railway, he waits until the train leaves. As the train leaves, he realizes Akari has left. He smiles to himself and continues walking as the movie ends. Thank you for watching the recap. Kindly subscribe to our channel to get notified when we post the next recap. See you next time.